Hi everyone who's following my channel. I haven't posted any more exercises for the last 3 years, but I've had a couple of ideas, and there's something that I would like to share with you, which is the following video that you're about to see. A little subject has come up. I'm going to describe it in a moment. It was basically the experiment that we're doing was basically a bit of fun. We were 4 friends getting together, and we just thought we might as well make some use of the afternoon. The experiment has quite a few flaws. It's kind of maybe a bit of a pilot study with some ideas of what else could be done. But in the following, I will explain to you what we're on about, and when you see the whole video, you may understand what we've been trying to do. So hopefully you will understand it, and hopefully you will enjoy it, and maybe you've got some thoughts of your own about the subject, and if you want to put something down underneath in the comment section. Biomechanically correct rider position in order to facilitate rather than hinder the horse for maximal performance of the equine is a widely discussed subject without universal consent. There are multiple problems thrown at the rider, such as staying with the horse during horizontal acceleration and deceleration, absorption of vertical forces during suspended gaits such as trot and canter, and the question how much body tension is needed in core, pelvic and shoulder girdles, as well as the limbs, to do the job without confining the horse. The advanced dressage seat, consisting of leaning back behind the vertical to varying degrees and in varying situations, is a controversial topic. Leaning too far forward in front of the vertical during flat work is a general no-no, and how much tension we have to use to effectively stay with the horse is elusive to most average riders, not least as many recreational riders do not have the overall sport-specific fitness to achieve an effective seat. Also, engaging the core to slow down, alert, or stop the horse as an alternative to pulling the reins is a skill that many recreational riders are not aware of. When Julie and I played around with the equicizer Toti last year, we noticed how much more effort was required from a second person pushing the horse to keep it moving under certain conditions, such as when the rider engaged the core or leant backwards or sideways, in comparison to being relatively relaxed in the vertical. Even though sitting on and moving the equicizer is very different from riding an actual horse, we figured that a horse must feel the difference in effort as well. As rider positioning is a controversial topic, I have thought of how effort can be quantified and recorded, and came up with the experiment that you're about to see.
Hello, I'm Julianne. This is my equicizer called Toti. Toti comes from the USA. He was built by Frankie Lovato, who is a jockey. Frankie built these starting in the 1980s in his garage because he was injured. I think he broke his leg in a race, and these were built really to rehabilitate jockeys. In latter years they've been used for disabled riding and all sorts of applications of dressage training and as well as rehabilitation still. So there's a fair few of these floating around the world now.
If you can also say why you got Toti for yourself.
I bought Toti because I had a mare that had to go to sanctuary because she was basically a little dangerous. I decided in my 50s that I was too old to be bouncing off a horse who could just throw something at walk and get me on the ground. I bought Toti so that I would not be tempted to buy the wrong horse again. He gave me the time and space to work on myself and basically to not make another mistake, having made 2 with my last 2 horses. I've had horses for 25 years. It just proves that you can still make mistakes even when you think you know what you're doing. So for that reason he has been an absolute godsend to me, even though my mother doesn't particularly like him in the living room.
Okay, could you give us a demonstration of how you ride Toti now? Thank you.
Unlike the race woods, Toti is a spring suspension, therefore you have to use your core to move him. He's not motorised in any way or electronic.
Okay, if you explain, at the moment it may well look like you're trying to move the horse with your arms, but I don't think you are.
With these equicizers there's an awful lot of head movement because they were designed for jockeys to really stretch out and get into that rhythm. So you'll find more head movement on an equicizer than you will with a normal horse. That takes quite some containing with your hands. So it probably does look like I'm moving my hands a lot, but I'm actually going with the neck.
Now the next condition is where the rider leans back behind the vertical. We start with the rider vertical and then ask her to lean back. Now lean back, but don't give in the middle. Yeah, lean back and you're holding tight. And now give in the middle and be vertical again. Thank you. The next condition is where the rider is going to lower the centre of gravity, or makes herself firmer in the middle, as if to try and slow down the horse. Something that Mary Warnless of Ride With Your Mind calls plunger down. We start without plunger down and then go into plunger down. Okay, plunger down now. And relax again. Go with the movement of the horse. And that's it, thank you. And you could really, I don't know how well you could see it, but you could really feel it. And I mean, could you see the dial changing as well? Start without plunger down and then go into plunger down. Okay, plunger down now. And relax again. Go with the movement of the horse. And that's it, thank you. The first condition for me is again that Julianne is going to move me, and I'm just going to go with the movement of Toti. Okay?
Now to lean back. Oh. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm leaning back and I'm holding tight. And now I'm leaning back and I'm going with it.
Makes a big difference to my hand pressure.
And now I'm holding tight again. And now I'm going straight again. Keep going. And now I'm just going to do the bear down. And now I'm relaxing again. Okay, thank you.
The results. The changing conditions could be subjectively felt by the experimenter pushing the equicizer, particularly with increasing core engagement behind as well as in the vertical. The effort required to keep the exerciser moving was palpably increased. Visually, the equicizer moved less, and it was more slowly and a smaller amplitude, with increasing core engagement, and it was obvious that the experimenter pushing the horse was working harder to keep it moving. When we were looking at the dial recordings, the videos of the dial showed that despite the trend to have an increased reading under the conditions that required more core tension, the needle excursion was not increased with every push. So what I'm saying is, it was some of the pushes it was increased, but not all the time, not with every single one. And that needs to be discussed why that is. And here's the discussion. Even though it can be argued that manually moving a piece of equipment on springs does not even come close to emulating a moving horse, the point of the experiment was to see if we could quantify a change in effort depending on different seat conditions of the rider. In our setup, the increase of pressure exerted on the inflated cuff of the sphygmomanometer, as depicted by its dial, was the objectively measurable indicator for change in effort. Leaning back did not have as big a hindering influence on movement as previously assumed by the experimenters, as long as there was minimal core engagement. The same applied to the vertical seat. The video of the dial showed that despite the trend to have an increased reading under the conditions that required more core tension, the needle excursion was not increased with every push. Presumably this was as no aim was set for where the end range was that we needed to push to. With many excursions, the experimenter pushed slower and with a smaller amplitude instead of pushing harder. While this does not give a good objectively measurable result, the concurrent video footage of the entire set does show the significant increase in force needed by the experimenter to keep the equicizer moving. What does this all mean to riding a horse? To some of us, this is probably not new, but it does not hurt to raise awareness of the subject to the broader equestrian population. While a certain amount of basic muscle engagement is necessary to keep the rider connected with the horse and stop him or her from hindering the horse by being behind the horse's movement, the horse can be stifled and hindered in its movement by too much body tension. The rider needs to be aware of how and to what degree the position and tension are applied, and the challenge is for the riding instructor or coach how to lead students to increasing awareness of their body position and tension throughout each riding experience.